I'm Christy Hemingway, and this is Tips and Tricks for Inquiry-Based Learning. Today I want to talk about Inquiry by Design's approach to working with difficult texts. Inquiry by Design provides curriculum and trainings for districts and schools all over the country. And typically in these trainings, when teachers encounter the level of difficulties in our text, there's some whispered conversations at tables about the components of our instruction that are going to need to be added in addition to what's outlined in the teacher's manual. Context, vocabulary, ideas and concepts that will have to be pre-taught before students can be asked to work with or even read these texts. We often hear comments like, I know it says that this unit takes 10 class sessions, but with my students, I'm going to have to spend at least one whole day just on vocabulary before we can even start. We're not surprised. We've come to anticipate this reaction because the texts in our units are difficult, in keeping with Common Core recommendations, but also our own conviction that a text that doesn't invite inquiry, present challenge, and provoke thinking is not worth yours or your students' time. But we also understand that your classrooms are full of English language learners and students who are struggling readers, reading well below their own grade level. This pre-teaching practice has been a consistent part of our instruction. Front-loading context, vocabulary, ideas, and concepts seems like a really necessary scaffold for students' understanding. And yet, this practice is problematic for a couple reasons. First, much of the information that we pre-teach is supplemental information that isn't essential to a student's understanding of the text itself. But most of the information that we pre-teach is information that's in the text already. If we pre-teach information that a student can glean for him or herself through a reading of the text, we rob that student of the opportunity to synthesize that information in context, to ask his or her own questions, to answer those questions, and to catch references and allusions themselves. We're basically doing the work for them and answering a bunch of questions that haven't been asked. Literacy expert Penny Kittle and other literacy researchers who have endeavored to find out why high school students complete so little of the assigned reading have received a common response, which is students say, we don't really need to do the reading. We know that eventually the teacher is going to tell us what he or she wants us to know about the text. The second and even more pressing problem with pre-teaching is that it doesn't happen in real life. Students are not provided these kind of scaffolds in college or in their careers or in their kitchen when they suddenly need to make sense out of the manual for the new pressure cooker. So not surprisingly, when students suddenly reach college and these kind of supports are no longer available to them, they have trouble wrestling authentically with difficulties in a text. This is the literacy gap that Common Core is trying to address. And when we utilize a pedagogy that doesn't mimic and reflect what real readers do in the real world, we're actually contributing to that literacy gap. Pre-teaching doesn't happen in real life, doesn't happen in college, doesn't happen in your job, it doesn't happen in your home or anywhere in your life. Pre-teaching is a strategy that will never serve our students outside of a classroom. So, how do we support students to engage with these increasingly complex texts? Well, our response, and the Common Core response, is close reading. Tune in to our next episode where we'll talk about how close reading strategies make explicit what real readers in the real world do in ways that can support even your English language learners and your struggling readers to engage with difficult texts. For now, just know that the inquiry-based way to approach complex texts is to just dive in.